Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of
Unhinged by Uncaged.
I am your host, Lucero Salgado.
And I am Zenith Bencheri.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about growing up international because the International Festival is right around the corner on April 26th, and you should sign up and come support all of us that are participating in it.
AKA
Me.
Yeah, come support her, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, so as always, we have to start with a question. So, Zenith, what does growing up international mean to you?
So to me, it kind of means just like growing up and having a sense of like cultural and social identity. To me, that's what it means. And to expand on that, like for example, it like means to me being able to speak another language, like being bilingual, or I'm not trilingual, but being trilingual, like for example, or further on. That way you're able to communicate with others, whether it's here in the U.S., other countries, other places that you might travel to. Like, it's really cool to be able to speak another language. And also sharing traditions. Now, that could be food, that could be things about just culture in general, religion even. And for me personally, today, marking the day that we're filming, it is the first day of Ramadan. So Ramadan Mubarak to everybody who celebrates. But yeah, that's like an example. And it just overall brings people, family, friends, even people who want to connect with a certain culture or language or whatever it might be. Like just of connecting people and bringing them together. And I find that very beautiful, number one. And I value that personally. And I always try to share my cultures and my beliefs to anyone who would like to share, with me. And I'm always open. And yeah, I love it. I love who I am.
Yeah, same. Like, your culture and like the way that is the way you see the world and the way you associate with other people. And I feel like here in the US, it's like a very unique situation because you see so many different people from so many different backgrounds that we all look so different, we all act so different, we all think so differently, but at the same time we're all like in the same place, like in the same area. Like when I think of March, I think of Easter eggs, but you think of Ramadan.
Yeah.
So like that just shows how different we are, but at the same time we're like great friends. We're here making an episode.
Yeah.
So it shows how we have like our own culture and we're all different, but at the same time we can come here and connect and things that we have in common, and it just shows how like wide the world is and like all the different things in the world that we do not see because I think we lack that appreciation sometimes, and I think it's really beautiful. And speaking of us, we are like great examples of growing up international here in the U.S.
In our own ways. Yeah.
In our own ways,
Yeah.
yes. For example, you
Yeah.
were born here in the U.S.
Born in America, yes.
but from an immigrant household.
Yes.
And
First
everyone,
generation,
yes, and everyone always talks about like growing up in an immigrant household, and I feel like those are very unique experiences. And can you talk to us about that?
Well, growing up with immigrant parents, for me at least, like, my background is like a bit messy. Like, my dad came here a long time ago before my mom, and my dad learned his stuff, and, you know, back then it was different. Like, he used to work at a gas station, like, when he first came to America as, like, almost like a teenager, working for, like, I don't know, a few cents to, like, a few dollars an hour. Like, that's crazy, like, comparing it to nowadays. And then, like, my mom, for example, came to America not knowing a word of English, having to expand her beliefs, and also, like, trying to learn a new language completely by hearing what's around her and just trying her best. And then, you know, when I was born, you know, I'm the first child personally. So for me, I was really a big helping hand for my mom. Like, we're like best friends. And so, like, you know, anytime she needed help, for example, like, oh, what does this mean? Can you reiterate this? Or do you mind sending this for me? Or can you talk to so-and-so? You know, I was always there. And, I mean, she's my mother. I don't mind helping. But, yeah. And then, yeah. That's pretty much it. Like, you know, as an immigrant child, you really are just there to, like, help your parents through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for like the life I have and like the amazing parents I have and everything. But putting yourself in their shoes of coming to America with a completely different environment. Like for me, my family personally comes from Afghanistan. It is a big cultural difference, a big one. And so like imagine trying to adapt from a totally different environment to a very westernized way of life.
Yes.
So
And
yeah.
everyone always says, like, Americans don't have culture. I don't know what you mean by that, but it's very different. Like, Americans have such a different way of living their lives to any other person in the world. So it's like their American culture, and you have to adapt to it. And it's very unique. Like, for me, it was like a lot of cultural shocks, like you say, that your parents had to learn a language. They also had to learn the way people interact,
Yeah.
the way, like, the things that are correct and not correct in certain situations. And it's like adapting to a new place, and then like you said, you have to help your parents and stuff, but it's because they're learning. Like, all the things that now you think are normal were like a shock to them.
Yeah.
And they had to learn, and it's harder to adjust to a new place the older you get. So I think that's also, like, it also has a lot of sentiment to it. In my case, or well, for you, the other day we were talking, and you said, oh, sometimes I have like a crisis because I'm way too American in Afghanistan, but I'm too Afghan in America. And I feel like you're that scenario or like situation where you're this mixture, and you like really represent this new like multicultural world, and you're like Afghan, but at the same time you're American. Like, you're this mixture. And I don't know if that causes problems, like, for you, like an identity crisis.
Here in America, I would say in some situations it has been a problem, but not always for my case. It has been a problem like for my parents, for example, because of their accents or because of the way they speak, or you could just tell in the way that they look, right? For me, it's just been like, you know, people joke around sometimes. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. I won't name, but, you know, things have happened like that. But definitely, like, back home, like, in Afghanistan, for example, like, it's a big culture shock. I don't know, like, why or how, but it is, and it's there. And I definitely notice it. And for me personally, I feel like all eyes are, like, towards me. Like, oh, she's an American walking around. But
wait, people can tell that you're from like America.
Apparently, yeah. Even if I talk the same way, dress the same way, act the same way, do as much as I can to be exactly on point, they can still point out that I'm different. And even with my own father, who was born and raised there for most of his life, right? He has been there too, and immediately they can point out that, like, oh, you don't seem like you're from here, even though he knows the cultural norms. But, you know,
Yes.
people have good eyes, man. People have good eyes.
I have been in the place where you realize that a person is not from that place. Like, is the way they talk or the way they act. Like, you can automatically tell you're not from here. And you have like, we share the same heritage, but you're not completely and fully like us. I was born and raised in Mexico. Like, this is my first year here in the U.S. I lived here before for like a year, and I feel like I'm not as Mexican as my friends in Mexico anymore because of the things that I do. And I'm starting to have like a little bit of that cultural shock and identity crisis because now I celebrated Thanksgiving. I never did that. I play softball. I did not even know what that was. So those are things that I think are now starting to make me not less Mexican, but more of like a mixture. And it feels so weird. Or sometimes when I'm speaking Spanish, I forget words and I think of them in English. And then when I'm speaking in English, I cannot pronounce words correctly. And it's like a whole like problem. Not that it's bad, you know. I think honestly, like, being bilingual and stuff like that's a privilege, but it gets a little annoying sometimes. I don't know. It's a little weird. I feel kind of guilty sometimes. I don't know if your parents have ever mentioned that, but I feel like I forget stuff. Or not forget, but like stop being so connected to it.
Yeah, I feel like personally, based on my experience, like if I spend so much time listening, talking, living, staying, visiting, wherever it might be in a certain place, or being in that kind of space, in terms of like for example, if I'm in Afghanistan, right, and I'm spending so much time there, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm not as American anymore, and then when I come back here, I'm speaking constantly like Farsi, or I'm like doing this, and picking up on that culture more, or like in my own household too. Sometimes I try as much as I can to speak in my own language with my family, you know, to help me retain it for future purposes as well. And I realize that, like, oh my goodness, I'm mixing so much of English and Farsi together, or I'm like, just choose one language to speak. Like, why am I forgetting certain words in one language but remembering it in another? And it gets frustrating because I'm like, it shouldn't be this hard, and I know that I know what I'm trying to say, but it just won't come out that way.
Like, sometimes it comes out in, it's like a mixture. Like, I'm speaking English, and then boom, a word in Spanish comes out. And I'm like, I did not even think of it. It just came out. And it's a little frustrating, but I'm also kind of like proud of it, because it's like it shows the mixture that I am.
Yeah,
and
you're unique.
We're
in
unique.
A very good way.
Yes,
yeah.
And I really like that. I also, for example, I've been thinking a lot about if I ever have kids, I want them to speak Spanish. Like, I will not have no Sabo kids. Like,
She will not.
I refuse to do that. I feel like that's horrible. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know what it will be like for them to like live like your experience.
I'm worried about myself.
Why?
In terms of this, because I've had this conversation with my family too. I'm like, in the future, like, I'm the first generations from like my parents. They're the immigrants, so they've already experienced it with me. Now, since I'm like 50-50 on English and Farsi, you know, like speaking it half the time, like, you know, switching on and off, my future kids are gonna be like
less than
even
you.
less probably. I will try my best. I promise myself this, to speak Farsi with my household as much as I can. But there's no guarantee that, you know, once those kids go to American school, like, everything changes.
And the way you act also changes a lot. It's so different. Like, you can tell when someone is like American. Like, even if they were raised in another place, if they've spent a lot of time in America, you can automatically tell. Like, they start becoming a mixture. It's not something bad. I actually think like a lot of people feel like it's something bad. I don't think it's something bad, but for me, it has been a little hard to like accept the change. And in my personal case, for example, in my family, my mom is Mexican, but my dad is from Honduras. So my own like direct family is like mixed. And now we live in the US. So it's like a whole crisis of like, okay, well, I'm Mexican, but my dad is Honduran, and I feel a little bit connected with like Honduras and like their culture, but not as much as Mexican, of course. But now that I'm here, there are no Mexicans. There's a bunch of like Hondurans, so I'm connecting more with my dad's side than my Mexican side. But at the same time, inside, I'm like, I'm Mexican. Like, if you ask me, I'm Mexican. Like,
are you
100% Mexican.
Are you Mexican?
Yes. And I'm so proud of that.
Great pride, yeah.
I mean, yes, I feel like patriotism sometimes can be a little problematic. But I'm proud of what I am. And now let's move on. Let's talk about culture and like things that you find funny in your household. Like, for example, I can tell you that in my house we have a bag for bags. I don't know.
Oh my God, I have that too.
Yes, and my Asian friends have also told me, it's like, oh, you have a bag that's full of bags under the sink, and I'm like, yes, obviously. Or like, my mom reuses yogurt containers as containers.
Yeah, oh my God, that
it's horrible.
So many containers reused for so many different purposes.
I know.
I'm like, what is it? What is inside?
And you open it up, it's expecting it to be like yogurt or like ice cream or something, and then it's like chili, and you're like,
what is this?
What is this? You can
literally, yeah, you're so right. Yeah, my household does that too. It's like, it's so funny and annoying at the same time because I'm expecting something and it's not there.
I know, but it's sustainable, and For example, another thing is that my mom dilutes soap. Like, the soap to wash the dishes, she dilutes it. So she puts like a little bit of soap and then puts water, and then she washes the dishes with that mixture. Because, I don't know, like, immigrant parents tend to be a little cheap.
Oh, yeah. I do that sometimes
So.
with, like, hand soap, like, in the bathroom. You know, like, there's, like, still a little bit left, but you can't pump it out fully.
Yeah,
so
so
you
like,
put a little
dilute
water
it.
in it, and you mix it around, and then you pump it out, and then you're good.
Yeah.
We're using every bit of that soap. Every
know.
bit of that soap.
Or like, now that I'm in APES, my teacher's always talking about stuff like, oh, you need to reuse, you need to do this. And I'm like, I already did that. Like, I already lived
Been
the
there,
same
done
life.
that.
Exactly. And I don't know if it's because you're trying to be cheap, or like because living here is expensive, or it's just culture. I think it's just culture. Like,
Yeah.
the bag of bags. Like,
My
that's
parents
just
are already,
culture.
yeah, my parents, like, I guess if they were in my apes class already, they'd be perfectly fine. Minus, like, the meat consumption part.
Oh my god.
Because
My mom,
meat is life.
yes,
That's just how it is.
Meat is
But
life.
meat is life, literally. That's how it is. Like,
Yes.
they could not go vegan one day. Like, that's a whole other topic.
I tried to go vegan, and my mom was so mad at me. She was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, it's just like, it's good. It's good for the environment. And she's like, oh, no, I'm not. You're not going to be my daughter anymore. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Another funny story of your immigrant life?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of, like, my own life. Because
It's like I don't even know myself right now. I'm like thinking, what is so like different about me compared to like other people? And it's like, I don't know. I guess in terms of cheapness too, like sometimes my family be like, don't let the water run too long, or don't like turn off the lights in one room, like don't leave it on or whatever.
Yes.
Like we're not made of money. Money doesn't grow on trees. In terms of that, yeah. Or like don't waste food, or don't do this and do that. But that's normal at the same time. I'm trying to think of like funny
stuff. Oh, for example, sometimes I've seen kids yell to like at their parents, like in the park, and I'm like, their parents are not mad. They're like, oh, just like calm down. My mom would like head me in the face. Like,
she also been there, done that.
She would never allow that, and I don't know if that's like cultural. It's just like,
for me, I'd like to think that I'm fine. Hopefully, my mom could be the judge of that. But when I was younger, especially growing up, kind of elementary school and middle school, I wanted to be like others. Like I try to like hide my identity a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to be more American, if that makes sense. Being able to go out, have sleepovers, do this, go to a restaurant with friends, or like wear certain clothes, and because I just thought that was cool, and like everyone does that, so I'm just like, I want to do that too. And that would get me in trouble so many times with my parents, because they're like, you shouldn't be doing this, or like sleepovers are bad because of this reason, or these clothes are so and so.
You're not allowed to go to sleepovers?
I'm not, even till this day.
Yeah, me neither. Like, even I think I'm gonna die, and I'm never gonna go to sleepovers.
Even with my best friend, whom I've known for like since elementary school, probably I've only slept over at her house once in the lifetime I've known her, and that was like after like 5 years of knowing her, because my parents are strict on that. Unless it's like family, and certain family, they're protective. I see it now, but like back then, I just wanted to be like other people. I'm like, I want to have sleepovers, and I want to go hang out with my friends, and I want to wear this, and like you can't tell me what to do, or something, right? Like,
for me, like, it was so weird, because like my mom allowed me to go, or like my parents allowed me to go abroad, like for entire summer without them.
Freaking lucky.
And yes, but like yes, honestly, yes, but they won't let me go to sleepover. I've never gone to a sleepover. I'm never gonna go to sleepover, and probably my kids will never go to sleepover.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, Mom. And thank you, Grandma. But I think it's funny how like similar we are.
I had that exact discussion with my mom literally yesterday, because I have like a family event going on in like the UK, and so she's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to go, but like we can buy you a ticket and you can fly over to see your family. And I'm like, you won't let me have a sleepover here in the same city and town that we live in, but you will let me fly alone to another country by myself. She's like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, where?
Yes, I don't know what their criteria is. The way of thinking, I don't understand.
Yeah, she's like, you're old enough. Like, and I'm like, not old enough for a sleepover? Like, I'm confused. But at the same time,
you're about to be 18.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be like a little 5-year-old girl for the rest of my life to my parents. Like,
yes,
it's never changing. Yes. Guaranteed. But in terms of safety and like being protective, as I'm getting older, I do understand. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a little freedom. A little freedom.
Yes, and well, like as you're saying this, I think this is like a cultural shock. Have you ever had any other sort of cultural shocks like this? Because you said that you wanted to be like more American and stuff like
Yeah. I guess for me, I feel like a lot of cultural shocks happen in terms of attire and appearance and stuff, because especially like if you're going back like 2017 or 2018, a lot of like I'm just gonna talk about like girls specifically. They dress a very certain way, very trendy, very cute,
the
shorts, or like I had that phase. I still have my hydro flask, but yeah. If you can picture what I'm trying to say, you know, visually. And so, like, I wanted to be like that. I wanted to dress like that because that's what seemed cool. I saw these, like, girls at school dressing this way, and I'm like, I want to do that. But because of my culture and, like, my parents' beliefs and everything, which is the way that I grew up, too, it's just not seen as, like, proper or just, like, kind of, like, you know, not nice to just, like, show off your body, for example, or whatever. You know, like, you should be more, like, cautious with how you display yourself in terms of appearance. It's different when you're very young. That's totally different. But once you hit a certain age, it's like, okay, pull yourself together. Like, you know, you're getting older, so start acting like it. And in terms of appearance. And so, like, that was a big thing. Like, I went through a whole phase of, like, having little arguments with my mom. Like, well, I want to do this, but this person's doing this. And, like, her parents are doing this. And da-da-da. And my mom didn't care. She's like, nope, that's not happening. And
and it didn't happen.
Didn't happen. I tried to disobey, but let's just say, you know, you get punishments, you know.
Yes.
But, you know, I'm grateful for the experiences that I had because it's led me to, like, how I act as an individual now. And I'm glad that I had the little fun that I had then, because now looking back at it now, I think it was stupid and childish of me to think that way or, like, want to be like somebody else when, like, I am who I am, and I'm grateful for the culture and for all the opportunities I have from my parents. For example, like, traveling around the world, being able to speak another language, having different traditions and food and all of this. Like, I am very grateful for that, and I will never take that for granted like I did a few years back. And yeah, I'm really proud of that.
That's really beautiful, like, to see how you've matured. And I feel like those experiences really shape the way you think and the way you act. And for me, for example, the attire thing was also a shock because I came to school and everyone was wearing PJs. And I'm like, what? Like, in Mexico, school is like a fashion show. Like, literally, you were competing against other people to see who has the best outfit.
That really?
Yes.
That's
like,
so the opposite for me.
I know. Everyone here is like, oh, I'd rather be comfy. And Mexico's like, no. You have to be stylish. You have to be the best dressed. Like, I went to a nice school, and kids were able to buy, like, designer stuff. So they would, like, show up with, like, Balenciaga, Miu Miu, or stuff like that. And I was like, oh, damn.
Where is this school? I want to go.
It was really fun. And I expected that because I was like, oh, well, you know,
to that, yeah.
Loudoun County. And
rich. Hello.
And then I come into school and it's like, oh, why are they all wearing the same PJ pants? And it was like a big shock. Like, I didn't know if that was like the dress code, like what was going on. And then I realized it was just like the way.
Personal choice.
Yes, personal choice. But I was like, what? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to wear or stuff like that. Because I also had that, you know, you said that you wanted to be like more American, or you wanted to like hide the way you looked or stuff like that. And for me, it was like, well, I don't want to stick out. I don't want to be like the weird one, like, that's wearing jeans. So I was like, should I wear PJs? And then again, my guilt came in and was like, no, you would not do that because that's not the Mexican way.
Be true to yourself.
Yes. So now here I am with jeans that you cannot see.
Yeah, and me with pajamas. Literally, I'm wearing pajama pants right now as we're talking about this. This could not be any more funnier, I swear.
And
yeah,
one last cultural shock that I have was Chipotle.
Oh my goodness, really? You have to explain that.
I saw Chipotle Mexican Grill, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go in and see like what's
poppin'.
Yes. And nothing in there was Mexican. Like, it kind of
Oh my god.
it kind of seemed like
You're probably so disappointed.
it was weird. Yes. I bought like a quesadilla or something, and I was like, well, this is not poppin', but I'll accept it. And then I got a bowl, and I was like, I like this.
Is it bussin'? Was it bussin'?
It was bussin'.
It was bussin'.
It was bussin'. So now I love Chipotle, but at the beginning I was very disappointed. I was like, what's Mexican about this place? Like, I'm the most Mexican thing in this place.
Oh my god.
And then I love Chipotle.
Love Chipotle.
And I feel like it shows like that mixture of like American and like any other culture, because it's like I see the Mexican, I see the beans, I see the lime, I see everything, but it's just Americanized. But I see where it comes from, We come from the same place, but we're just different. And this is not sponsored by Chipotle, but I wish.
We could all get free Chipotle.
Hopefully. Anything else left to say, Zenith?
I don't think so, but I love that Chipotle story, and now I'm hungry and I want Chipotle. And
I shouldn't have said it because it's Ramadan.
It's okay, girl.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe I'll get Chipotle next time. Who knows?
Yes, when Ramadan ends, we'll get Chipotle.
Yes, and you guys can come with us. Maybe they'll sponsor us by then.
Follow us on our Instagram. Yeah, go to Chipotle.
Yeah, Chipotle field trip. Yeah.
Well, without anything else left to say, this is it for our episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, please tune into our next episode, and have a fabulous day. Bye.
Bye.